Namaste, everyone, and welcome back to Live Stronger. Today, we're going to train our back and a little bit of calf muscles too. Starting off with the greatest stretch, the usual everyday routine. We do 5 repetitions on each side. Make sure you try to stretch in between your legs. The stance which you take, like I'm doing here, is as far away as possible, as large as possible, so you get the maximum amount of stretch in your hip muscles. And also the foot which you place in front can be opened up, like as you can see, I'm pushing my knee outwards from away from the midline of my body to give me that internal stretch in my leg muscles also, which are my adductors. So that's one part of it, and the second part of it is the thoracic rotation, which we are doing after just turning around, looking back up and staying there for a second or two. The video is sped up, so that's the reason it looks like I'm doing it very fast, but it's sped up by 2.5x because it's boring to watch me do just stretching. We're going to finish off with a deep squat, stay there for a few seconds, and then we can begin with our exercises. For my first exercise, I'm going to do bent over T-bar rows. You can do one warm-up set and then go with your working sets of 3, wherein we do 20 repetitions plus failed repetitions, wherein we slightly stand up and shift the weight focus onto our upper back, upper traps. Now you have to make sure when you're bending over that you get a proper parallel posture with the floor, and you get a lot of depth. You have to get depth. See, if you're using small plates and you're unable to get depth, use step up box. See, like here I'm using step up box to create that depth for me to let the bar go completely down, release my entire back out, and from there, from that disadvantageous position, I pull back up, creating that extra bit of work for my back to get the weight back near my chest. Now, yes, if you're using a big plates, you might not need so much depth. You can do it just off the floor. But when you're using smaller plates, or if you have long limbs like long hands, if you want depth, you can obviously use step up box to increase your height. Instead of boxes, you can also use weight plates. After completing the T-bar row, we move on to single arm cable rows. Here again, 3 sets, 20 repetitions each hand. We don't take a break in between while switching from one arm to the other. We take break after completing both the arms, so 45 seconds break should be sufficient because one arm is resting while the other arm is working. I always keep my elbow slightly bent, and I use my spinal flexion to completely go forward as possible to create that extra bit of stretch in my lat muscles, as you can see. And from there, I pull back up and give a small twist to get maximum amount of contraction in my lats. This is the only difference between a two arm cable row and a single arm cable row, is that a single arm cable row allows you to turn a little bit, give that a little bit more rotational contraction, but otherwise it's absolutely similar. But I prefer to keep switching in between both of them to give it a proper balance. Maybe if there is one side which is not building up strength properly or not getting enough definition, I could recognize that while doing a unilateral training. Here you can see, while I switch from one arm to the other, I don't take a break. And that's how we do the single arm cable row, 3 sets. After finishing those, I move on to seated shrugs, wherein I have done again 3 sets, starting off with 20 repetitions and then drop the weight twice. So after 20 repetitions, immediately drop the weight, grab onto a smaller dumbbell, do as many repetitions as possible, maybe 10 to 15, 15 to 20, as many as you can. Again, drop, again 10 to 15, 15 to 20 repetitions, then drop. We are done. We take a 45 seconds to 60 seconds break. Make sure you keep your chin tucked in because I like it this way. I tend to get a little bit more engagement in my trap muscles, more contraction there. Always remember, the cue point is to try to get your shoulders as close to your ears as possible. Not possible, but if we keep that cue in our mind, we get the optimum amount of contractions. And you can use straps and gloves to hold on to the dumbbells, because if grip strength is compromising your repetitions, that will make sure that the compromise of reps doesn't happen because of grip strength. After shrugs, we move on to vertical exercise of our back, which is basically pull-ups, neutral grip. Now you can choose a grip which is comfortable to you, but the focus has to be that your back is working, not your bicep muscle. Yes, your bicep would be doing a little bit of work in terms of pulling your back up, even your forearms, but try to focus on using your lats as much as possible to get the full amount of contraction. While doing pull-ups, remember one thing: if you're unable to do a body weight pull-up, always use an assisted band, or if you have an assisted pull-up assisted machine, use that to get as many repetitions as possible in the 3 sets. Make sure you go through the full range of motion, that is complete release when you come down, and go as high up as possible. Try to get your chin up there. Now, if you're unable to get your chin up there in the last few repetitions, it's okay, but the first few repetitions, you should be able to do that. Hitting failure is okay in this exercise at this point of time because we have already troubled our back with all those volume exercises which we have done earlier. So, failure is a good sign. That means our muscle has reached its limits, but we should be able to still achieve few repetitions. If you have, you can, as I mentioned, use a resistance band to get few more repetitions out of your body. Once done with pull-ups, I moved on to a little bit of calf work, wherein I have done calf raises on leg press machine, 2 sets, 50 repetitions. I actually lost count after maybe 25 or 30 repetitions, and I went on to do as many repetitions as possible. I think I would have done more than 50, but that's not the point. The point is to target 50 repetitions. Go slow, don't go really fast. Your tendons will be working, not your muscle. You want your calf muscle to work, your tendons to take a back seat here. So if you go slow, slowly the stress shifts onto your calf muscles and they would be stretched out. So the part of dropping your heels as low as possible is very important. If you feel a little bit of pain in your foot or an ankle joint, that's because if the surface is not allowing you to, have that ankle mobility, it's possible. So maybe you can try a surface which has a good amount of slope or a slant where you can perform them more comfortably. Now, post completing my calf training, we are done with our exercises. We are going to finish off with static stretching. For static stretching today, I chose to use weights with vertical hang, wherein the weights would be pulling a little bit more, putting more stress on my back while I do a vertical hang. Since I can't do this for a long period of time, I have chosen to do it multiple times, 2 or 3 times, with 15 to 10 to 15 seconds of stretch. As you can see how stretched out my lats are while I'm performing this particular simple hang. That's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you did like the workout, please do drop a like. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe. Any feedback in the comment section is highly appreciated. Now, I hope the workouts, if you're for any reason, if the workout feels intense or if it feels too long, you can obviously bring down 1 set, and that's the way I make my workout shorter if required. But yes, I hope the workouts are still really effective for you. Here, one last bit before moving off. If you don't have a weight belt, you can also hold on to a dumbbell with your feet if you're comfortable with that. I just added the additional weight to get a little bit of more force stretch, but otherwise, a regular vertical hang also will do. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.